what other challenges do you think that INFJs in particular face in relationships?
I think INFJs often feel misunderstood because you lead with a dominant function that most of the world just doesn't have. And so when you try to communicate, it feels like you're talking to a wall. And so you'll talk and try to connect and be vulnerable, be emotionally naked for some. Because I notice with a lot of NFs or people with a sexual instinct in the Enneagram tend to explain wanting to be completely emotionally naked, taking off your clothes with someone metaphorically or as an analogy, but doing it through your mind and through your soul. And INFJs, some of them might seek to have that mind, body, soul connection and have it fall short when trying to connect with people, because either they'll try to start an insightful conversation and it won't be heard fully by the other party. They might get gist of it, but then the rest might fall flat. And you can go through your life feeling like no one really gets you and you don't feel truly seen. You're good at making other people feel seen. So it's this one-sided relationship that a lot of INFJs go through, where they're able to make the other person feel loved and understood and seen for who they are, but rarely do they ever get that same back in return.
Yeah.
And so you're watering other people's plants, whereas other people aren't watering your plant. And so your plant's kind of wilting a little bit inside, and it's like, oh, I want that soulmate, but I just can't find it. And you'll have some INFJs who are a little bit socially anxious or shy or reserved, or they don't stick out a lot. And so oftentimes they go unnoticed because the most substantial part of INFJs is hearing them talk and hearing their deep insights on things or their interesting view on things. But first you have to get over the initial maybe non-showiness of them, or whereas I find like SE DOMs, some of them can be very flashy or good at making themselves known in a room, where INFJs don't often have that type of impact immediately on people. And so their impact is more known as you get to know them and you get to hear what they have to say about things, or to see them as a person. But it's often they're the steak with no sizzle. And so it's great to have someone who can stay there and listen to those deep thoughts and those kind of mind-shattering ways to shift your paradigm, if only they would sit long enough to listen or want to listen to those type of conversations. So those are some of the common struggles I hear from INFJs. Also codependency too, and dealing with narcissistic people. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think, like, since INFJs have this struggle of like giving, but then like no one is reciprocating and filling their cup, do you think it could be beneficial for them to be in a relationship with another NFJ?
I think that, in my view, INFJs gravitate towards relationship with other NFJs. I know INFJ plus INFJ couples. Clay Arnold, the YouTuber, is one of those people, as an example. I've seen ENFJ and INFJ couples very often. Megan Lavoda and her girlfriend are an example of that. So they very typically get together. I find a type that is so attracted to INFJs is the INTPs, though. I've had so many INTPs crush on me in my lifetime, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think that's the and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what Carl Jung called the golden pair. And then people have expanded the idea of golden pairs. I actually made a video about golden pairs yesterday and how I think that they don't really exist. But I am pretty sure Carl Jung referenced the golden pair being the INFJ and INTP. And
Ooh.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe someone in the comments can correct me.
They are. Yeah, they're referred.
Okay.
Yeah, they're referred to as the golden pair for sure. The INFJ and ENFP are referred to that way, and the INFJ and the INTP are also referred that way as well.
Yeah, but I think Carl Jung said the INFJ and INTP, and he didn't make a golden pair for any other types. Probably he was just looking for his own. I don't know.
I'll
but
tell you a secret about INTPs. When you get close to them, so many of them say this. They love FJ types. They love
oh,
F. They eat up that FE. Oh my gosh.
mhm. I mean, I have them ranked as a very like a highly compatible pair in my system, but I know it's not the typical view. But I think that yeah, they fit quite nicely together. Although I'd love to watch one flirting with you, especially because I'd love to watch an INTP flirt some more.
Yeah. Well, I am single, so that is totally possible.
Can you go on a date and I'll just sit and like so I can gather more data.
I'll date all the types for science, just for you, Kate.
That would be fascinating. That's something I would absolutely love. But oh, I really want to ask you, but I feel like it's going to make you uncomfortable to answer. And so you don't have to if you don't want to. Are there types that you think INFJs are not compatible with?
I think it's not about type, it's about development, as Linda Barrett says. So if there's someone I'm truly not compatible with, it is an immature person and it's an unhealthy person, regardless of what type that they are.
Right on.
Yeah. I find I have my personal tastes in people. So typically there are things that I'm not attracted to. And those traits would be, I don't like selfish people, people who have pride in how selfish they are. And I found people like that. I don't want to date people like that because I want to find virtuous people. And it doesn't have to be virtuous in the way that I'm virtuous, but they're virtuous in their way. So they find a way in which they try to be a good person in whatever way that is. And someone who's constantly looking for self-improvement, who's not stagnating, who wants to be of service to the world in some way, in their own way. Doesn't have to be in the way that I prescribe it. I want someone who is on a mission or on a purpose or trying to make the world a better place in their own fashion.
Yeah. I mean, those are awesome characteristics. And even though you didn't answer it directly, I think I understand what you mean. And yeah, and it's part of the reason why I don't think that like golden pairs really exist, because I think that that's a gross oversimplification of who somebody is. Like there's so many more factors that go into it. And it's not like, okay, if you think a golden pair is like INFJ and INTP, well, not every INFJ matches equally with every INTP, obviously. So why is that? Because there's like a million other factors that go into compatibility. So, you know, you might be more compatible with a certain ISTP than a certain INTP, you know, for all the reasons that I laid out on my whiteboard. But yeah.
I like INTPs with better extroverted feelings. So if they've worked on their FE and they're not completely horrible at it, I'm attracted to those types of INTPs. I'm attracted to also INTPs who are a little bit more agreeable too. So they're not completely disagreeable. They have some of that there too.
Yeah, it always baffles me, people who go around parading how horrible they are at their inferior function. Like, this is not something you should be proud of. Like, you're basically just saying, hey, I'm underdeveloped, I'm so cool.
It's really like parading, hey, I suck at this, I'm not planning to get better at this.
Yeah, I'm aware that I suck, but I'm not dedicated to personal development. Well, that's quite an unattractive feature. So yeah. I think that's something that they should be embarrassed by. Also, when there's this big trend, you know, in MBTI meme land of people saying that they are wanting to be like the INTPist INTP, or like, oh my God, I'm the INTJist that ever INTJ'd. It's like, okay, so you are the least, you're proud that you're like this unique type, but you're the least unique of this unique type. You're proud that you are a stereotype and a caricature, you know? So that is also pointing to underdevelopment, because if you were more highly developed, then you wouldn't be so easy to caricature.
That is true. Yeah. It's one-sidedness Carl Jung talks about, and how if you're too into your personality type, it literally means that you're one-sided in development. It's almost like if you had a left leg that was way longer than your right leg, it's not something completely to be proud of. It's a little bit awkward.
Yes, not to offend anyone with a long left leg out there. I'm kidding. So if someone was going to enter a relationship with an INFJ, what advice would you have for them?
It takes them time to warm up and completely trust someone. So if they kind of date you, I've heard a lot of INFJs say that, okay, you're past wall one, but now, you know, there are these few other walls that you have to also make your way through. Because there are some types like ENFPs who just naturally let down all their walls, and they're like, I love you, I'm going to take down every wall I have, and we're going to go all in on this. INFJs are a little bit more cautious, so they're going to let you in, but you're also going to have to earn their trust, or to get past that second wall and that third wall and that fourth wall, because they're not going to be as openly, completely trusting as an ENFP would naturally. And
Yeah.
having that kind of patience for the INFJ slowly wanting to get to know you and your mind, the INFJ is going to want to have deep conversation and to have these thoughts about the universe or mortality or life itself, or what really makes you tick, what makes you feel alive, what makes you love life, looking at your biggest fears or your biggest aspirations. They want to know you on the most core fundamental level it means to be you. They want to know the concept of you, the abstraction that is you. And that's what helps NFs feel close to you in general. It's getting closer to the abstraction of who you are. And so giving the INFJ the privilege to look into that within you and exploring those type of conversations with them is great.
That's
Also,
awesome advice. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, with INFJs, there's this quote that I really like to reference, and it's find someone who speaks your language so you don't spend a lifetime trying to translate your soul. And oftentimes we can water ourselves down for people when we could really be finding people who naturally just kind of understand you and that you don't have to compromise for. There can be an urge for INFJs. They're really good at accommodating people. So if there is a mismatch or an incompatibility, the INFJ is likely to want to accommodate on their side or placate on their side. And there's this watering down instinct that they have. And so I would say towards INFJs, don't give in to that instinct that you have to water yourself down for the relationship, and find people who actually want to love you the way that you are, or that you're compatible just as your dynamic is. Because there's this urge to kind of jump in and to make the relationship work, or to do the things that you need to smoothen it over, even at the compromise of yourself. And ultimately that's not worthy. Your future self is not going to like that. And so for INFJs watching, find someone who is able to embrace the totality of you, so that you don't have to be watered down apple juice. You don't have to be that 2% apple juice. You can be your 100% apple juice self, so you can be happy, because you can never live fully happy and energized as 2% of who you are. It's just not it. And so that's my advice.
How would a person who is in a relationship with an INFJ, like they might think like, man, I don't want you to water yourself down for me, but the INFJ is doing that because they're afraid that maybe they'll lose the person or they'll make them mad or something. And it's like, no, I want to know like what you really think about things. I want you to be authentically you. So how do they know if the INFJ is doing that for them, and they can like be like, hey, stop it. Like, I want you here.
Check-ins, asking, are you placating, or is this what you really think?
Okay. Is
Asking
INFJ?
actually, you giving no wiggle room and really actually asking, is this the best for you? Do you think that this decision is made in your best interest, or do you think what you're doing is in your best interest?
That's a good one. That's a question that I learned to ask myself this past year, so that I can, not in just relationships, but in just life, like, am I acting in my best long-term interest? Because it's like, yeah, I don't want to do this right now, but then I think about, is this in my best long-term interest? And it's like, no. So yeah, that's a really good way to phrase that question. And then it's like engaging your NI. So that's a good like little workaround for you as well.
Your personality is unique. It's hard to find someone that understands you. Try dating using personality type matching. Find out who you're compatible with using Myers-Briggs and Big 5 personality scores. Download TypeMatch and start dating by personality type compatibility today. TypeMatch, available on App Store and Play Store.